understand that people have not had a chance to review them, so we will address them at our next meeting. Do we have any minutes this evening, Elizabeth?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, and do we have a voucher for this evening?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right, I have several announcements, so bear with me here because there's been a number of changes. First application for tonight was Ave Partners LLC. That is going to be carried to the March, thank you, 19th meeting with no notice as Mr. Pape is sick. Second on the agenda was Tracy Place LLC. That is being carried to March 5th with no notice, no additional notice. And application number 3, Israel Birnbaum, 263 Jackson Pines Road. That has also been carried. I'm not sure if everybody got that notice, but that has also been carried, and that'll be March 5th with notice, however. They have to renotice. Yes, please. Yes. Okay, so forgive me, I don't have legal counsel to turn to, but here's what I can share with you from the email that I received. Mr. Peters got late notice asking him to please provide an updated review letter. That's all I know, and I don't have counsel to confer with. So if, after we discuss the counsel, if it's possible, if we can bring that back up at that time, if you don't mind. All right, thank you. I do understand what you're saying, however, and especially based on the past discussions. Okay. And then matter for discussion tonight, obviously we have 2. The first one is we need to appoint a zoning board attorney, so let's open the floor for discussion on that matter.
I would like to make a motion.
Can we have discussion first?
Yeah, actually, I have a question, procedural question. Is that okay to ask now?
Yes.
Okay. So just to make sure I understand, someone makes a motion. Before someone seconds it, we are allowed to, wait, don't second it yet. We are allowed to have a discussion about that motion?
Yes, but somebody can second it, but you can discuss the motion that's on the floor. We can't discuss any other issues.
Right, just that
You can
motion.
discuss the motion itself that is on the floor.
Okay, so even after someone seconds it, you can
Correct.
still have the discussion, right? Before someone starts voting, right? Someone seconds it, we can have that discussion
Right.
even if it's second. Okay.
Right.
Once we start voting, though, that's it. You have to vote one of 3 ways: yes, no, or you
Yes, no,
abstain.
or abstain.
That's it. You have to vote. You're locked in. Okay.
Or you can recuse yourself, and again, I'm going to, once we have counsel, we can address this again.
Yeah.
But it is my understanding, you can recuse yourself if you have some type of a conflict that can
Okay.
result in you having to recuse yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The example.
So
I was
actually, you
using-
technically have 4 choices, is what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you for that, yeah, okay. In my example was, if I'm not ready to vote on that motion because I don't have enough information, I want to make that,
Clear
known
in
to
your
everyone.
question, right, so start
Right.
questioning, right.
Yeah, okay,
So
thank
then
you.
we'll discuss it, and then hopefully we can get enough information to everyone to have
Right,
a vote.
okay, thank you.
Two things. Mr. Martin is not a voting member, so he
Correct.
can't make a motion.
Right.
And second, what are the 2 other firms that are asking us to approve? Are they
we-
the same firms, or?
We still have
So could you just,
Dosty.
I think we could just to announce what the firms are.
Yes, so
we have
the
an idea.
2 firms in question that are still up for appointment are Rothstein Mandel, forgive me the rest of the names, I'm sorry, and Mr. Dosty's firm. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. And you're right, I should have announced that, I apologize.
It's okay.
So discussion, motion, however you would like to, have some discussion, whoever would like to go first.
Okay, since we discussed last time, both firms are excellent firms, and both firms could handle the job. However, I just had a question about the Mr. Dasty and his father's firm having some problems along the way, particularly since the elder, Mr. Dasty's, one of his partners is our town attorney, and it's very hard to have attorney from this board have to work with somebody similar. And just going through the resumes of the Cipriani firm, Jean I know quite well. I know she could handle it, and her partner, Miss Robin Dubois,
Dubois.
has excellent credentials, as we went through last time. So I would tend to vote for them when the motion comes up. Nobody uses
I
I
don't-
did-
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, I don't want to jump the gun. It seemed like Dr. Hustain was not ready for any motion to be made, so
Can I just ask Dr. Hudson a question? You mentioned last time as well, and with everything going on, I never got to circle back. You mentioned Chris Dostie and his father. Aren't they separate firms?
They're separate firms, but...
Oh, no, I just want to make it clear.
They're just separate firms, and it's just, since we have another choice, I would feel more comfortable going with the first firm that we mentioned.
Well, in light of everything that went down in our last meeting, do you think it's appropriate that we rebid? Do you think it's appropriate that we rebid for this position?
That is an excellent question, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, and forgive me. I'm not trying to avoid your question. I don't know the answer. I'm just going to be perfectly frank, I don't know the answer to that. And without counsel, I don't know how to answer that.
Well, maybe we should poll the board here to see how they feel about that, because, you know, it seems like we're being railroaded. That is what happened, and I don't want it to continue.
I know that Mr. Such and Mr. Martins can't vote, but you can comment if you like. Please don't hesitate. Any other questions or comments on the matter, what Mr. Hudak had to say, or what Mr. Hofstein brought up?
The bid went out, and the bid was answered by 3 law firms. What happened when we had the vote, there were a lot of questions about Mr. Murphy's firm, and what happened, and at the time the bids were open, I think enough law firms had time to send in their bids too. So I think what would have happened if it was a direct turn down at the last meeting, we would have reopened for another motion, so I think we should treat it the same way.
I have a question. You said there were comments about Mr. Murphy's firm. I don't remember there being comments. We went around and we voted. I don't remember there being comments, but that's neither here nor there at this point. Like I said, I don't know the answer, so I'd like to hear from everybody and get your opinion. Mr. Such?
I agree with Bob. I mean, the board voted. Ryan Murphy was voted in. He's no longer our counsel. I think it's a whole new playing field, to be honest with you. I mean, as far as, yeah, there were bids that were submitted and opportunities, and the board chose who they wanted. And at this point right now, I think it's a whole new playing field.
Dr. Hofstein, we heard from you some, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm for just voting today.
Mr. Hyman?
So I believe that we did have proper bidding. Sometimes you get 1 application, sometimes 2, 3, or more. I think that it was bid out properly, and whoever wanted to submit an RFP was able to. And so we have another 2 RFPs that are still willing to do this job. We have a very good choice, I believe, here, to be able to be made. And I don't think that it's necessary at all to rebid it.
Mr. Bressi?
I concur with Mr. Hyman and added the fact that if we have to rebid it, how many meetings do we have to miss without an attorney? before the RFPs come in. I think that's the main factor too. And I'm content with the two RFPs, they were done properly.
Could you
Happy
speak
to
into
vote
the
on-
microphone, please? I
Yes.
can't hear you.
Sorry.
I concur, Mr. Hyman, and definitely agree that we have the RFPs were done properly, and that we have two left on there to vote for. And I would rather just vote for the attorney tonight. And the other problem is, if we go for RFPs, how long does the zoning board have to wait for the RFPs to come in and be recognized and get the notice out to the people that want to bid on it? I think it would really hurt the zoning board for a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Ms. Barnes?
I think as well that two options are, it's not like we have a dearth of options. I also think that if we were to want to consider rebidding, probably would have been beneficial to consider that before this moment. I would be prepared to move forward with the vote, and one of the first thoughts as well that I had was it would be very challenging. I mean, look how many, in just the short time that we have not had an attorney, how many things came up, and, I think it would be a big detriment to our process if we didn't have one, but, not only that, I don't want that to make it seem like we have, like there's a lack of due process in the RFP process. I think it's sufficient in my opinion, and at this point, I would be prepared to move ahead.
Ms. Rosado?
Hi. I agree with Mr. Bressi. I'm prepared to make a motion tonight as well, or to vote tonight, but if we don't have counsel for if we have to rebid, how long are we not going to have counsel? Can someone answer that? Or is there a time frame? Like how long usually does it take for we get the RFPs and then vote? So if we have our next meeting, are we going to have it by then? Like,
Great question. That's a great question. Mr. Martins?
I guess, let me just add, procedurally, this aside, one of our councils resigns, right? You'd go out for a new bid and, right? You'd go out for a new bid. In the meantime, is there a provision for, what do? We need to keep functioning. We can't function without a council. Is there some provision for a temporary council or something just to keep us going? Yeah, and then my question is really not specific to this one right now, well, our situation, because it's so close to each other. But if you had resigned, in July, what do we do? I don't know that. But other than that, I don't have any comments. I can't vote anyway. But, yeah.
So this whole conversation, I have to be honest with you, is interesting to me. I hadn't thought about the concept of a rebid. I don't remember which gentleman said it, but whatever you said just triggered that the bids were all done properly. However, for whatever reason, the town council or the governing body, let me not say town council, I do not know who, the governing body issued a new bid for the engineering position when we had 4 firms. So I have to be honest with you, even though I'm taken back by the suggestion, I wasn't prepared for it, is what I should say. I'm a little torn here because look what happened with the engineering role. So we had, your comments, and I understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. The bidding process was sent out and was done properly, but then what happened in the engineering situation? So I'm a little torn here, and again, I feel kind of lost because I don't have counsel to turn to because we're discussing counsel. Jeff, can you help me out? I don't know.
My first thought was that I know, for instance, when the planning board had a conflict, the township, does believe, have a special counsel who maybe sat in for the planning board attorney at one point. I don't know if we can reach to the planning board attorney to sit in until those RFPs come in, Certainly, I can reach out in the morning to maybe the township attorney to get some guidance, but that's nothing I can do at this moment.
I do have a question. The bidding goes to the council? The bidding doesn't come directly to the zoning board?
The RFPs get submitted through the clerk's office and the purchasing department.
Okay, so the council has no input in this then?
I can't say for sure that they do or they don't.
Right,
I just know that
supposedly according-
RFPs get opened
Well,
by
no,
the
that's why I
clerk.
changed, so if this is in regards to my comment, that's why I changed my comment from the town council to the governing body, because I do not know who. So let's just be
Well,
abundantly clear.
According to the laws on this thing, if you refer to Cox, the Bible of zoning boards, of land use really, it just says that the zoning board picks their own council, so therefore, everything should go to the zoning board, not to the council. Zoning board picks its own attorney, I mean.
So I can appreciate that, but then why did they do that with the engineering? So do you understand my dilemma here? I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not saying that the RFPs were not done properly. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if they were all done properly, then why did we have a rebid when we had 4 applications for engineering? So this is my struggle here, and unfortunately, I don't know the answer because we don't have an attorney, because that's what we're discussing.
Well, maybe, on the,
You talk about a rock and a hard place, like, let's
Yeah.
be realistic here, and I don't know that it's even appropriate to, because Ms. Cipriani is one of the attorneys we're discussing. I've hesitated twice now to call her and ask her, but I don't know. I'm,
through the chair, on the engineering applications that were sent in, the 3 that asked for the job of engineer, all 3 were withdrawn. The 2 that came back were new members, so maybe everybody withdrew, as far as we know, and 2 new ones came up. It wasn't that 1 was left or 2 were left, all 3 were gone. So they had no choice but to open the rebidding on that.
well, that was not my understanding, but again, I don't know all the inner workings. I was not involved in that. It just, I'll be honest with you, it makes me uncomfortable, and I'm trying to do the right thing here, okay? I'm trying to do the right thing here, and I don't have someone who can guide me and say, go with it, don't go with it, what is the proper thing to do? My gut right this moment, which I tend to like to go with, is to say, let Mr. Pepero speak to special counsel tomorrow, because I don't want to do the wrong thing. I don't want to do something that's going to cost us later or cause a problem later.
Yeah.
Well,
Madam
I'll
Chair?
be reaching
Yeah,
out to the
absolutely.
township attorney.
Right, I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Sorry. You
Yeah.
said special counsel, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just have a thought. Typically, I don't know if it would be, right now it's discussion, but ultimately, whatever we do or don't do, well, whatever direction we would go with, I'm not sure procedure, but my thinking is someone would have to make a motion. That motion would have to be seconded, and everybody would have to vote. I guess the question procedurally is, what happens if someone makes a motion that is, I don't know, that not a legal motion to make, or, can't, like, let's just, so I don't know that piece of it, but like regardless, my thinking is, like, if I'm, if someone's making a motion, if whatever path we go, it's going to have to go through that process. I mentioned I'm prepared to make a motion. I don't, I don't want Mr. Hudak to feel like railroaded by my motion. But, I think my thinking is that's got to be the process regardless of, what path.
Madam Chair.
I concur with that, and I guess these bids are still active, they're current, they're not old, and I think the consensus was to move on with the vote. I see no reason why the vote fails, then we have another problem.
May I?
Madam
Yes.
Chair, could I?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm, just of what's going on and listening, I would say, and because from your words that you don't know, may I suggest, if even appropriate, if someone made a motion to table this entire thing until, because like you said, you don't know. And before people start making motions to vote for things that we don't have legal representation to, that we're going to turn around and find out that because there are people on the board, and because the board already previously voted for an attorney, someone made a motion to table this until the answers were found out.
So I always have to comment on everything, right?
It's okay. You're more than, we need your opinion as well.
Okay, so my opinion is going to agree with exactly what you said. I don't think it's appropriate to make a motion and have a decision made when it's obvious that all the information is not available right now. You need counsel. I think we all need counsel, or some kind of opinion from counsel. I think tabling it, getting a special counsel, doing it the right way, and not forcing it down. 'Cause whenever you make hasty decisions, it always comes back to bite you. So why? Right? I understood why as far as, hey, we don't have any counsel, all these applications. We're going to resolve that part of it because you're going to have a special counsel. That's my opinion.
Through the chair.
I'm sorry, forgive me. Yes.
I'm not sure what the debate is. If we didn't have good RFPs that submitted, I understand why we would want to rebid. I think we have good, competent RFPs that submitted. I believe the consensus on this board was to go ahead with a vote. So I'm not sure why this is still, I understand Mr. Hudak's point, Mr. Stutch's point, your point, and Mr. Martin's. I very much understand you, but I believe that these RFPs are still live and they're with those terms and conditions. They didn't have to resubmit it. And I believe that we have a good option or options on the table, and I believe that we should be voting on this.
Jeff, I'm sorry. I do not have that paperwork with me from last week with the RFPs. Of course, it's sitting at home. Somebody indicated that the other engineering RFPs were withdrawn. I don't remember that being the case. Do you?
That's not my understanding.
That's not mine either, and that's why I'm struggling here. I don't know what to do. Yes.
Okay, now we're on. Through the chair, since the next scheduled meeting, we have a couple of applications that people have been preparing for a long time. And we have to have somebody, an attorney, who can go through the paperwork and get us started on that. We'll also note that this month there is a third Wednesday, 2 weeks from today. If the room is free, maybe we could get everything resolved then. Just put this off until 2 weeks from today and get legal advice from the town attorney on what we should do. And this way, whomever we appoint, we'll have time to be ready for the applications coming up on March 5th.
Honestly, I understand what you're saying. This is no disrespect to anybody sitting here. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. If I make a decision that is wrong, I'm hurting the township and putting us in a place that may be in a bad situation. I do not feel comfortable voting and moving forward at this point because I just don't know if it's the right thing to do.
Why don't we
Madam Chair.
appoint,
So,
why don't we appoint a temporary attorney, send it out for RFP, and see what happens there? We have an attorney sitting here in the audience. I'm sure she's chomping at the bit to get involved. There you go.
Madam Chair,
yes.
I don't know the facts on the engineering, but I've seen bids and rebids go out. If they came in wrong, if there wasn't efficient notice, there's a lot of reasons they rebid. And I don't see why we have to tie the engineering rebidding into this.
Microphone, please.
We have bids that are available, bids that are processed, bids that were done properly. We have a motion, and I'm ready, I'll second
We
that motion.
don't have a motion
I
yet.
thought she made the motion.
She did not make
motion.
the motion, we started for discussion.
I said I would like to make a motion,
Right.
but I,
And then
Because-
Dr. Hofstein interrupted, and,
Right.
and so that's why I said I know she didn't make a motion, because Dr. Hofstein interrupted, but, you know,
I
I
would
kinda
be prepared
like-
to, but,
I
you know,
kind of like
didn't-
Mr. Hudak's suggestion, if you want me to be honest. If we appoint, Jeff, is that well, again, he's not an attorney, see?
You can ask her. I got a question.
I think
Should we
we're,
open
She-
it up to the public and let them?
Madam Chair,
If we make a
Yes.
motion, that
I
would be
think
best.
we're within our rights to appoint a temporary attorney to help us along with this process and to answer any questions we may have.
That's not how the RFPs went out.
Well, suggestion, why don't we put up a motion, whether the board wants to carry this to a separate meeting 2 weeks from tonight, and see how that vote goes. If that vote fails, and then nobody wants to carry it, then we may just have to go out and pick an attorney, and let the town attorney decide that we were wrong, and call us back and say you have to revote. There were a couple of options. We just can't keep putting this off because of what happened last time.
Yeah, sure, just speak into your microphone.
I have a question for Ms. Cipriani sitting there.
I don't think you can, see, that's.
Now, as an attorney, I
I
have
don't
a,
think it's fair to
I
put-
have,
But there's no public discussion, that's why.
not about this.
I don't think
I-
we can, there's no, we're discussing
If
the,
she is special
Hey, Ken.
counsel to the
Ken.
township.
Ken,
She does.
you should be gavelled. You can't do this.
I think that's out of line.
Okay.
Much out.
Well, let's move on. I'm going to make a motion to carry the appointment of a board attorney until the third Wednesday of
you mean
this
fifth
month of
Wednesday,
January.
fifth Wednesday. This is the third Wednesday, you
only
mean the
have one
fifth
meeting.
Wednesday.
I mean, the fifth
Yes.
Wednesday of,
I knew what you meant, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
okay. The fifth Wednesday of,
You want to make another
January.
meeting?
hmm?
You want to make another meeting?
Madam Chair.
Have another meeting, and
We have to
the
discuss
reason
that.
would be to carry it, get a ruling.
We don't have
from
another meeting.
whoever.
We have to see if it's, is there a possibility of making another meeting? We don't have one. I don't know
We
if-
can
don't know
hold a
if it's
special
available.
meeting,
Well,
we can have a special meeting like we did for the 8th, if that's what you're,
But-
I'm just
but-
answering that
The
question.
question is if it's available and if we would have to.
Oh, I'm pretty sure the room's available that Wednesday. I know it's not available next Wednesday, but I'm pretty sure it is available that last Wednesday, because that's the fifth Wednesday of a month, there's usually nothing, you know
This
what I
is
mean?
something we've done a number of times, have a
Um,
third meeting.
So, I'm sorry,
Okay, I put the
Mr.,
motion on the floor.
So, wait,
Let's vote and see what
there was-
everybody says, whether they want to carry it or not.
Someone wanted to make a comment here. Sorry. You still want to make it?
No, I was going to say if I'm going to be out of town that Wednesday.
the 29th?
Yes, so I don't know if that, like, because can the alternatives or alternates, can they?
Yes, then the alternate, alternate.
Yes, the
I was like, wait,
alternates.
she said
I said
alternative.
alternatives, sorry.
The alternate would then step in and vote, so at that point, Mr. Martins would vote.
Got it,
So just in case, again, if you went on vacation, whatever, that would be the procedure.
got it.
They get second best.
All right, so Dr. Hofstein put a motion on the floor that we, say it again, please.
I'm sorry, that we carry the appointment of the board attorney until the fifth Wednesday of this month.
And before that is seconded,
Yes.
certainly, we need to find out if the room is available and find out who from the board is available. And we'll have to notice and do our special meeting dance, so to speak.
So I was just going to ask Elizabeth if she can verify that the room is available for the 29th. We don't have to do it right this second, but you can check the calendar, actually, right? You could check the calendar and see if the 29th,
Is that okay with you, Mr. Poro?
That's perfect.
all right, so we know that Ms. Rosal will not be here. I'm just going to go around. Mr. Martins?
Yeah, I'll be here, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Rosal, you will not. Ms. Parnes? Okay. Mr. Bressi?
I'm in question that day, see if we can change something.
I am available as far as I know. I know I'm not the 22nd. Mr. Hyman, I heard you say it's your wife's birthday, so you will not be here. But Mr. Such, I'm sorry, Dr. Hofstein,
I
forgive
will be
me.
here.
And Mr. Such, you
I
could
could
be
be
here.
available.
Mr. Hudak?
With bells on.
Okay. All right. So Jeff, the room, Elizabeth's going to check if the room is available. I will reach out to Dawn, if this should pass, I would reach out to Dawn, obviously, about a special meeting, and we've already checked everybody's availability. And then we would have to go from there, correct? Is there anything I'm missing?
I don't think so.
Okay. So Dr. Hofstein has made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Elizabeth, roll call, please. So yes, we're going, let me just be clear for everybody. Yes is that we're going to table it and defer to town council, the township attorney, excuse me, on how to handle, and we'll have a special meeting on the 29th. Mr. Bressi and Ms. Parnes will check their schedule and get back to us. Dr. Hofstein has put a motion on the floor. Mr. Hudak has seconded it. So a yes means that we will table it and come back, and a no means, no, we will not. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bressi,
No.
Mr. Hyman,
No.
Dr. Hofstein,
No.
Mr. Hudak,
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Oh, you just made the motion.
You don't have to vote yes, you made the motion. Can I vote no? Against your own motion? Okay. I'll change it, I'll vote yes.
Listen, I,
1 second.
again, I don't know, but I've never seen
This
that.
this is really getting out
I
of
don't know
hand.
what the issue is.
I think it seems to me like Dr. Hofstein just wanted to move things along.
what's your vote?
Correct.
And put something on the table to vote.
There's nothing that says
We
you have
don't
to
have
vote for a
counsel.
motion. The motion is on the floor, everybody has a vote. I just put it out there so we can make a decision.
What, maybe I missed it. Who seconded?
Mr.
Okay.
Hudak did.
Okay.
Dr. Hofstein, what's your vote?
No.
Mr. Hudak,
Yes.
Ms. Parnes,
No.
Ms. Rosal? No. Ms. Bradley?
Yes. All right, so you don't want to table it.
2 yes.
Okay, so can I make a motion to,
Yes, but before any motion is made, I want to be abundantly clear. We are doing this with the understanding that we do not know how we should proceed. We do not have counsel to refer to because the counsel that is in the audience, who I would love to ask the question but could not, is the counsel that's up for a vote. So, for the record, I am being abundantly clear. We are moving forward, not knowing if there are going to be any repercussions and what the repercussions may be. So, go right ahead.
so, actually, it's, and again, I'm not a professional in this, but it would be my opinion that we voted on whether we want to carry or not. So considering that the consensus of the board was that we do not want to carry, it would seem to me like it's appropriate that we can proceed with the motion. And considering that it is, from my research, the firm of Rothstein Mandel, let's see if I get them, Strom and Cipriani, I think there's a fifth in there that I missed,
That's why I quit when I was
has extensive experience in this town, and extensive experience in land use and representing boards, and I would like to make a motion to appoint said firm.
I'll second that motion.
All right, before we vote, can I just ask, sorry, I know I don't get to vote, but I just want to ask some questions, a little more information if I could. And if I could ask Mr. Bressi, who it seems like you have a lot of experience. In a normal situation, a council resigns, right? Which is what happened here. what are the next steps? Do we go out and ask for bids? You just resigned. Do we go out and ask for bids? Or do we bid, or do we pick from what was previously submitted?
Well,
What-
if the bids are current, you go with the bids. If you have to resubmit or there's no bids out there, you have to put out a notice for bids. There's a process to get bids, a legal amount of notice.
Okay.
You have to put them out.
Okay,
But if you have bids that are current here.
you can
within-
use those. You don't have to go,
rebid, no.
a council resigns,
And
you don't have to go out and ask for new bids.
I don't have a lot of experience, I have some experience.
Okay, okay. But that's normal procedure, right? It's okay to use
they're
the bids
current.
that were there from prior. Is that
Not-
right?
I wouldn't say 6 months, but you're talking in the same
It depends on
matter
the
of
time.
days, right, yeah.
Okay,
mean,
I
you're talking
understand.
6 months, I would say, no, you want to go out for rebid.
Okay, that's clear, that's clear.
Please don't
Okay.
take
And-
Mr. Bressy's word as gospel. He's
No.
not an attorney, and, he is trying to get through to, get his pick in.
Yes.
And, I feel like I'm backed into a corner now, and, I am choosing sides on the Sandlot, and I'm getting last pick, and there's one person remaining. And that's not a good position to be in. That's why I feel as though we need to rebid this and have a whole new cast of characters and make our decision intelligently from that, instead of, this is who we want, this is who you're gonna vote for, which we all know took place. So,
Yeah, yeah. And the reason I ask, just to be clear, is, so if I'm a council out there, I would like the opportunity to send in a bid, right? Which I didn't before, but now you have an opening. I would like an opportunity to send in a bid and go up against the other ones. That's why I asked that question, right? If
He's
someone
allowed to have a
resigns,
discussion.
it would be fair to put it out there and now allow everybody to rebid.
that's right.
To me, it
Madam
seems
Chair,
fair. Anyway.
if I could respond, Mr. Hudak, I held back because you said you would feel railroaded. So, it seemed like a discussion was in place, and I didn't want to, push in my motion and then say, well, now, the motion's on the table, we have to vote. But we did vote on the option to carry it based on an RFP. So, to me, that was decided upon by the board, whether we want to carry,
But
and.
we also voted for.
Mr. Gertner's
Ryan
office.
Murphy, and that got squashed. That was a fair vote. And then, when it didn't go your way, then now it's a problem. So you're not being fair. And,
And I actually just have to say, in all my years of being on boards, I've never seen someone make a motion and then vote against their own motion. So I just have to,
yeah,
I've never seen that.
well, and
I mean,
also
it's
not knowing
I mean,
what
that to
an
me, just,
abstention is.
right. So, I mean, I think
I hear that.
going back to, we did vote. We voted for Mr. Gertner's office and for Sean, and for Ryan Murphy. So, for some reason, that seems to just be omitted from the
Fair and
entire,
square.
yeah, right, it's just, that seems to be just forgotten part of the entire conversation. And I think that's what's, I guess, the elephant in the room, at least from where I stand. The board voted, and Mr. Gertner's office won, and Mr. Murphy's no longer representing us. Going back to my original statement of what you said, you don't know the answers. So instead of trying to just force a situation that we could find out from Jeff tomorrow that the town attorney says absolutely not, and then all of this is moot anyway. So going back to saying, possibly tabling it until we have an actual council tell us, yes, you can do this, no, you can't. That's all I'm saying.
The only problem now is we have a motion and a second on the floor, so I believe we have to move forward with the motion and the second that are on the floor. Any other comments? No additional comments, roll call, please.
Mr. Bressi,
Yes,
Mr. Hyman,
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein, Mr. Hudak?
No.
Ms. Parnas?
Yes.
Ms. Rosal? Ms.
Yes.
Bradley?
Abstain. Ms. Cipriani, let me just be clear for the record, that is no disrespect to your firm. I'm uncomfortable casting a vote yea or nay, given the situation I have put on the record. I don't know the answer. I don't feel comfortable putting anybody in a situation where they're in jeopardy, so please do not take that personally, but I'm just not comfortable. So what was the total, Liz?
4 yes, 1 no, 2 abstain.
4 yes, 2,
1 no,
1
2
no, 2
abstain.
abstains. All right. Ms. Cipriani, you've now been appointed counsel. Now, that being said, I do still believe that that question should be asked. So Jeff, you will follow up tomorrow. Like I said, this is in no way disrespecting Ms. Cipriani. I just think to make sure we cross our Ts and dot our Is.
I will.
Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, if I may just speak before I come up here, just because, I think that you handled it appropriately, because I was the person or one of the people that was being discussed, though I was, of course, jumping out of my skin, wanting to answer. I am now, for the moment, board attorney, no offense taken at all, and it's important that the role is, as I know that you are all aware, to be the attorney for the board and all members of the board, and that's, I will do the best that I can with that. I would like to answer some of the questions that were being asked. Obviously, Mr. Purpuro, at your direction, will confirm with the township attorney, but just because there were so many things where people were saying, you know, we don't have legal representation, I will give you what I believe to be the law, but obviously confirm it with the township attorney. So, the answer to, and I'm not sure I remember all of these, the issues that came up, but certainly it is appropriate in a case where someone resigns. It is, if you have RFP, you could go back. You can go back even through the year, though, as Mr. Bressi had indicated, at some point they feel pretty stale and you wouldn't go back. Equally, you do have the right to go out for new RFPs. I don't know exactly what happened with the engineering RFP, having been here at the last meeting and this meeting. I got some sense of it. Certainly, it is more typical to open it back up before you get to kind of the reorg moment, but it certainly can, you can go back out. And to a point that was made, or something you discussed, you can go out throughout the year. So, in every professional appointment that you make, you always have the options to rescind, to terminate. There are a lot of cases out there on those issues. So, you know, I don't know what happens going forward. Of course, my dream is that the board moves as one and, you know, 2 months hence, everyone's thrilled with the appointment. But even if not, either now or at some point in the future, you don't lose the ability to go back out if that's something that the board should choose to do. It is uncommon, but it is not unprecedented for someone to make a motion and vote against it. Just so you know, legally, that is permissible. You can, you know, have whatever feelings that you have about whether it's a good practice or a bad practice, but it is certainly a legally permissible practice. And now I'm going to come sit up there, and
Come
that's
join us.
acceptable.
Yes.
Thank you, by the way. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I want to just jump in real fast. When
I'm
you
sorry,
did your,
Jeff, I didn't hear you.
when you did your announcements, you neglected to mention the Rosenblum application, so if you would.
Yes. Yes, I did miss an announcement. Thank you, Mr. Purpuro. The Rosenblum application from 445 Brewers Bridge Road, variance 3464, has been withdrawn. It had been carried from the 11/20/24 meeting. This was one of those cases Mr. Hudak referred to earlier, where we set a limit of how long they could continue to do this, and they have withdrawn the application. Thank you for the reminder. Ms. Cipriani, welcome. I'm sure that is not common. With,
It had a special Jackson kind of feel to it, but it's not
Yes.
entirely
Yes.
unprecedented for difficult things to
Yes.
happen around the court, so.
So for your first order of business, if you would please swear in our, we still, even though we have no applications, I'm gonna still swear you in, correct? Yes. Well, Ms. Cipriani will.
Please state your name.
Mark Romeyer, Board Engineer.
Ernie Peters, Board Planner.
Jeffrey Paporo, zoning officer.
And do you swear that you will tell the truth to this board and present all matters factually and truthfully?
I do.
Yes.
On to our next and hopefully last very short matter for discussion. We need to, as you all know, Mr. Stafford Smith has moved on to another position in the township. So we need to appoint select a vice chair. Questions, comments, concerns, issues, whatever?
I don't have the ability to, but I would strongly recommend Mr. Hudak for that position.
Can I ask you a question? I'm going to ask you your first question. Just to be clear, so we're making sure we're doing this all properly, the two alternates do not have a vote in the vote for a vice chair?
That's correct,
Okay.
unless someone is,
Right, okay,
but certainly can make recommendations.
right. They can still comment. Okay.
Sorry, I missed what you said, unless someone
Was absent.
Was absent.
absent, not abstain. Okay, got it. Okay, so I have a comment. Believe it or not. Yeah, so for whatever it's worth, in my opinion, I agree again, and I would also vote for Mr. Hudak, if I had a vote.
Any other questions, comments?
I would like to make a motion to appoint Mrs. Barnes as vice chair. Given the nature of Mr. Hudak's comments, the attacks I don't think are appropriate, and I therefore do not believe it is appropriate to appoint him as vice chair. Sorry.
I'd like to second Mr. Hyman's motion.
Before we-
Second, I didn't make a motion. I said I would like to, I said I did not.
So I am going to make some comments here, and I'm sure that there will be some who don't like it. So I will just state that for the record right now. I'm going to respectfully disagree with your comments, Mr. Hyman. Mr. Hudak comes with a wealth of experience from the planning board. I think he brings a different perspective, and just like Mr. Stafford Smith, because the experience that he had, I think that brings a different perspective and a different set of experience when you have some new members and a mix of older members. I think that it's important to get different perspectives. So I do disagree with your comments. We can all be adults and agree to disagree and treat one another with respect and be professional. You don't have to agree with his comments. I'm not saying you have to agree, but I think we should all feel comfortable here voicing our opinion respectfully. And when I say respectfully, he didn't call anybody out of their name. He didn't curse or anything like that. So I am going to disagree with your comments. Like I said, I think he's got a wealth of knowledge. He brings a different perspective. The planning board is definitely different than the zoning board. So I think he brings a different perspective to the conversation. So I do disagree that the comments that you disagree with should be held against him.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Hyman, I am aghast at your comment, and it is so wrong. Here, you're nominating someone for vice chair who was unclear what it meant to abstain in a vote. And you want someone with that lack of experience and lack of knowledge to be vice chairman. I really have a problem with that. And it seems to me that, you have your agenda and you have your following here, and you are all making a play here to control this board. And that's the ultimate goal that I see. And I got a real problem with it, and I have a problem with you taking the exception of what I had said, because I was quite restrained up until now.
I appreciate your comments, and I very much disagree. I feel that you are alleging things against myself and other members of the board which are incorrect and they're not truthful. So to be, for you to insinuate that there's preconceived or things that were discussed and made up people's minds is totally false, and you are spreading false information.
I don't think that's false. I think that certain members contacted the press and had these things in the Lakewood Scoop, the articles that were in there, and Mr. Murphy is gonna, it's all gonna shake out.
Thank you.
If I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
at the reorganization meeting last week, Ms. Barnes embarrassed herself, and she embarrassed the board by trying to change her vote and change the outcome of the selection of the board attorney. And the divisiveness that was caused at that meeting continues till today. Never, in all the years, and in many years that I've been on the zoning board, I have never seen members speak to each other or argue with each other over anything. Everybody had respect. And I think by doing what was done, whether it was intentional or not, I just think she's not ready for the office of vice president.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Before I became the subject matter, I actually, seeing that some of the comments, the energy behind the comments, I was kind of tempted to say, I just wish we could all, move toward a productive working relationship as a board. I think there were things in the last meeting that transpired that I definitely wish hadn't. I will say, though, that to characterize the divisiveness as being a repercussion of what happened from my actions and comments, I really take issue with, because I felt a division from some comments that were made earlier on, and I don't like to have these adversarial kind of mudslinging, comments going on, and I was not comfortable speaking freely because I didn't want to, say things that about people, or, make direct accusations, or, any kind of negative comments. And so it felt like one big mind game to me. Some of the openings, some of the statements that happened, and definitely got to my head, and made it very challenging for me to formulate my thoughts in the moment. And what I really wished that I had done was to request, and I didn't have counsel to guide me. I didn't have legal, we didn't have an attorney, but what I wished, and I still don't know if this is an option, but what I was hoping to ask, just for my own clarification, is, instead of abstaining, is there a way to, like I expressed, I don't feel ready. It was hard for me to articulate my thoughts on exactly, what how to frame and phrase what I wanted to do. But I'm curious, actually, if I would be allowed to say I need a few minutes just to think through what I want to say here. And immediately before my vote, the attorney that was I think Dr. Hofstein said, I'll pass for now, and he was told, you have three options, either vote yes, no, or abstain. And I sort of cornered myself into those three options and chose abstain because I really needed just a couple of minutes. And I said I needed a couple of minutes. I didn't have, in retrospect, I wish I would have asked, can I have a minute, just to clear my mind and sort of clear out some of this noise that's going on. And I take exception with being called out as the one who caused the divisiveness. And I really hoped, and I still hope, that, we can move past this. I understand there are people who disagree with things I did. I definitely wish, certain things went down a different way. But my hope is, regardless of what happens, is that we are able to, act with respect, and move forward, with whichever direction this goes. That's my wish, and I invite the other members of the board to, to see if we could, even if we disagree, to just move forward without the division and without the hostility.
If I may, Carolyn, so my suggestion would be, is it on, is it off, what's going on? There, thank you. You have a motion and a second. You could either take additional nominations at this point or have a vote on that. If there's, if there's a belief that additional conversation and discussion is going to be helpful, then obviously that's something you could have. But right now, you do have a motion and a second for one nomination. I don't know if you wish to take another at this time or have a vote on the pending motion.
All right, well, I was waiting to see what, if anyone else was going to speak up and voice their opinions, and thank you all for expressing your opinions politely and respectfully. I do truly appreciate that, especially after last week. I would nominate Mr. Hudak for vice chair. Like I said, I think it's, excuse me?
Is there a vote?
No, Ms. Cipriani just explained that we could take another motion.
We can hear what the nominations are, and then the vote would be in the order that the nominations were made. So there was a nomination and a second for Mrs. Purness. Now there's been a nomination, I don't know if there's a second, for Mr. Hudak. Obviously, there was recommendations made, and then,
Okay, was there a second from Mr. Hudak?
not
No,
at this
not
time.
yet, Ms.
Okay, I'll
Cipriani.
second it then.
So we have a motion and a second for Ms. Parnes and a motion and a second for Mr. Hudak.
Correct. And then, because the nomination for Ms. Purness was made first, that would be the first vote.
Okay. So our first vote.
Unless there are more nominations. Okay.
No, I just one question back to my very first original question. So at this point, since we have a second, there is no other options. The board has to vote, and you have 3 options to vote on the voting, correct?
No.
Okay.
So, but you
Because
basically,
just back to that,
Yeah.
do I get 10 minutes to
yeah,
think
so
about it?
when you vote, you have the, obviously, yes, no. You can, if you recuse yourself or say you abstain for a conflict, then you don't count towards the quorum, and you're not considered part of the vote, but that is a statement you can make. You can abstain, or you can make another motion. You could make a motion to table the calling of the roll for some period of time, something like that.
Gotcha. Okay, I think it's that last one. So in theory, if I wanted half an hour to think about it, I can take a motion to table it, and then the next half hour, whatever, we can vote then.
Yes, but I would, I don't know if everybody wants to stay here another half an hour, so you might want to make that 5
No,
minutes.
I understand. I just yeah, I understand now. Thank you.
But yes,
Yes.
sorry, not to be facetious, yes, you could do that.
Thank you. All right, I'll shut up now.
Don't feel like you have to shut up. Your opinion is wanted as well.
That's what you needed. Yeah, just time to
Okay.
think. Yeah, I agree.
Excuse me?
Who second Mr. Harmon's motion? Mr. Bressi?
Okay, so we have a motion and the second on the floor for Ms. Parnes and Mr. Hudak. Ms. Parnes's motion was made and seconded first, so we'll have a roll call. Correct? I said that right? Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah. A roll call, Ms. Parnes is first, please.
A yes? Or
Yes
no?
or no? Yeah.
Yes or no.
Or abstain.
Right, and if the motion is successful, then obviously Ms. Purness takes it. If it's not successful, we move to the second nomination.
Mr. Bressi?
Yes.
Mr. Hyman?
Yes.
Dr. Hofstein,
No.
Mr. Hudak, Ms. Parnas,
Yes.
she can vote for herself.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Ms.
oh,
Rosal,
No, I was going to say yes.
Ms. Bradley.
Yes. I mean, no. Now you confused me.
Is that your
Oh my God,
final
I can't
vote,
believe
Ms.
I just said
Bradley?
Okay,
Wait,
I
first-
feel, yeah.
when she called me, she called my name, and I was like, yes, not even thinking. So my vote is no. I am very sorry, oh Lord. Just send me home now, please.
All right, so,
Okay. So that's 3 yeses and 4 nos.
Correct.
Okay. My head is not straight now. Elizabeth, I apologize. We now have a motion and a second on the floor for Mr. Hudak. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bressy,
With the comments that was sent to me by Mr. Hodak and his attitude on this, I'd have to vote no and hope that we can work on the applications together in the future.
Mr. Hyman,
No.
Dr. Hofstein,
Yes.
Mr. Hudak? Yes. Ms. Parnas?
I hope that my vote does not make the division wider. What I said before is sincere. I really hope to work together as a board, but my vote would be no.
Ms. Rosal?
I do feel that Mr. Hudak was voicing his thoughts and his opinion. I vote yes, but I would like to move forward from this and start fresh. And I don't like, having negativity, and we're all supposed to work together. So I would like to move past after tonight and just work as one, but I vote yes.
Ms. Bradley?
Yes.
okay, so the motion passes.
So, Mr. Okay.
All right. Is there any more exciting business to be conducted in this no application meeting?
Motion to adjourn. But I'm sorry, before we do that, can I please, I would, I'd be mad at myself if I left here and didn't say this. Last week, I was very honest with you all. I was quite taken back by the things that transpired. We have to move forward and work together. And like a number of you have voiced, we have to find a way, in spite of how we feel about what transpired, we have to find a way to move forward and work together. I also would implore each of you that if you have a question, if you have a concern, if you have an issue, if there's something you're not sure of, right? Ask the question. I say this to my children all the time, and they're adults now. I can't help you if I don't know there's a problem. So if you have I applaud you. Stop saying you ask too many questions. You don't. You don't know the answer. Ask the question. If I don't know it, I'm more than willing to turn to my counsel. I have no problem doing that. Okay? If you're unsure about something, if you don't think I've been clear, please ask the question. Let's not let things go and then want to spew, well, I didn't know. And this is not directed to anyone in particular. I'm making an overall announcement. We have to work together, so we have to make sure that everybody knows. And one thing I think I try to do well is to make sure I include everybody, ask everybody's opinion, because I do believe it's important. Everybody has the right to speak up. On that note, motion to adjourn. All in favor? All right.
Go, go.